Real estate investing just became a lot less complicated, and here's how. Where people really hurt their investing careers is not running their numbers properly and having their portfolio spread across a bunch of disorganized spreadsheets. Let me show you a solution. Hey Ma, can you help me up?
Our innovative platform features a powerful deal analyzer tool that gives you all the metrics you need to analyze your deals and see if the numbers stack up before investing. You can calculate returns on flips, long-term rentals, Airbnb, and so much more, enabling you to make data-driven decisions with confidence. But that's not all. Our property management tool is designed to simplify your day-to-day operations, manage tenants, track expenses, schedule maintenance, and optimize your cash flow all in one place. Landlord's intuitive dashboard keeps you organized and in control, whether you own one property or an entire portfolio.
And the best part is, you can start for free. So stop making expensive real estate mistakes. Click the link below, download Landlord today, and start doing real estate right.
People love to hate me. Oh, he doesn't know anything. He's this New Yorker. You know, we get millions of views on stuff. I never had haters like this before. And I was like, what do you need with a 7-bedroom house? You're a young guy who's living on your own. And he's like, I shoot porn. Because he kept asking me about lighting and soundproofing.
15 years ago, the game was who had the prettiest postcard. Now it's about how many eyeballs can you get on you? We've all had to change.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another Price to Sell podcast. And I'm here with
Alan Gabay. Hey, my name's Alan Gabay.
My name is Matt Van.
I am honored to be with two bright minds in industry under the Serhant brand, which is becoming a dominant force in the world.
Your online presence, your social media presence, that's your constant drumbeat. Imagine a cadence when an army is walking. The drumbeat, the do, that big symbol, that's your postcard where it's like, social, just sold.
And we know the numbers and we know the contracts. We know how to get the deals done.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another Price to Sell podcast. I am Alan Gabay, and I'm here with
Alan Gabay.
And?
Okay, actually, my name is Matt Van Wee, but I would like to say I'm Alan Gabay too. Why not?
Okay, I think...
You have to say it like me.
I do like you. Who wouldn't like you?
No, you have to say it like
Well, hey, my name's Alan Gabay.
Well, I'm actually Matthew Campoli. Welcome back to another Price to Sell podcast. Today, Miami edition, I am honored to be with two bright minds in industry, two absolute killers out in Miami.
You're very kind.
Under the Serhant brand, which is becoming a dominant force in the world, in my opinion.
I would agree.
And we're going to dive into all things Miami real estate, Florida real estate, the Serhant brand, and these two lovely gentlemen's careers. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. Oh, no, we can't forget Lily. She's off camera, but Lily is the dog. She's been the daily mascot of the day, and super cute. So she might join us. Yeah. But let's start off with Matt. Start off with a little bit of a brief bio as to who you are, and we'll get right into it.
Sure. So I'm Matt Van Wee. I started in real estate 21 years ago. My dad was a developer, and that's what led me into the business. I took a brief exit from the business during the recession when I became an attorney. Actually, that's what brought me to Miami, was to get a degree down here, and did real estate closings for a number of years. And then, to be honest, I got bored with that. I like being around people, out and about. So I left the law business, went back to brokerage, and after doing that for a number of years here in Miami, I joined Serhant. Actually, it was February 2023 when Ryan and his people called, and I said, "Look, let me fly up. We'll talk about it." Great, I love it. I'm on board. So proud to be one of the founding members of Serhant Miami, along with Alan, of course, and I love it. We're very busy, listing and selling real estate all through, South Florida, from up north down to Miami. And, I'm proud to do a lot of work with Alan. We do a lot of work together, projects and clients that we work together. And it's so much fun.
And you can see the fun. So I've been with these guys all day. Seems like it's been a week.
Lucky you.
I know, right? It's been an honor. But their dynamic together is so good and fun. You guys are perfect for the camera, off camera. Like, you guys are just being yourself. You're having a blast.
There you go.
Love to see it. So I want to give you guys props on that.
Thank you. I mean, it has to be fun at the end of the day.
Right.
It does.
Right. Yeah,
it does.
Right. Yeah. What else is there left?
Exactly. And the real Alan Gabay, you can
That would be me.
please stand up. Not actually.
No, I can't. I'm
No,
out.
yeah.
He'll yell at me.
Please speak up.
But please,
I'll break it.
the floor is yours. I'd love to learn a little bit more about who you are.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I'm not as interesting as Matt.
That's not true.
I know. I've been doing real estate for 20 years. I actually come out of the corporate world. I had a strategic brand marketing company. I come out of a creative background, and I worked in TV for a long time on the production side of it, but really just more in brand awareness and branding. I was part of the startup teams with Lifetime and ESPN and A&E, and then over to HGTV and food. And it was always, I had nothing to do with programming. I was more about the different verticals and money that they could be making off of it.
Okay.
Putting together deals and contracts between my company and these other companies, and always a closer. And I came down here about 20 years ago. I bought a property. I decided to, see what real estate was about. I was looking for just a change. I had been doing that same thing forever. And I found myself back in it again, being a closer. We're buying buyers, sellers. Nobody gets 100% of what they want, but you have to convince people and speak to them about why the deal is good. And I started right before the recession, and I was the head of sales for 2 projects up in Aventura. And then the recession came, and I found it to be amazing, because I went to banks, to the asset managers, and found out how to work them and how to do the short sale business. And I just kept moving and moving. And, I've been recruited by lots of different companies. The last one was Serhant. I started just after Matt did. And it's been a great run. It's a great company to work for. I've never been with a company that's been so supportive of their agents, and also just giving us the freedom to do what we want, but yet the availability to senior management. When we need Ryan or we need any of the senior management up in New York, they're right there.
I agree, and I echo all that. I think, the beauty of Ryan is, he is the guy at the top. He's the founder, and obviously the chief executive. But, when you have something important, when there's a deal that you're in the middle of making, whether it's on the listing side or the selling side, if you really need him, he's there for you. He's accessible. And, you got to love that. I mean, the guy's a TV star. He's a celebrity broker. He's probably the #1 broker in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I said that, Ryan. And he's there for you to help, put things together. Right. And they support their agents.
Right.
Which, for me, 20 years ago, I came from Century 21, which was
did
big.
you have the coat?
I didn't wear the coat, I didn't do that, but they were, that was big 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'll get his feedback on this, but it's like one thing I talked to Ryan about was, when I met Ryan in 2021 or 22 at a VIP dinner somewhere, and we had this conversation, and I'll never forget this. And Ryan said, look, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, the game was who had the prettiest postcard or letter. Like that was it, right? Now it's about how many eyeballs can you get on you? How much attention can you get? Because we're in this, attention-driven world, right? Where everybody is, on, Instagram, TikTok. They're looking for the next thing, and we've all had to change. And I think it's a testament to starting 20 years ago with us, having to modify the practice a little bit.
And what's happened with us, which has been great, is that we met before Serhant. Well, I met you. You were with Serhant. And I was showing some of his listings or something, and we connected. And then I came over to Serhant, and we just started working on things together. And I actually have a good following on Instagram. And we started to do things together, and we're building this following even more so with stuff we're doing together. People are seeing us, and like he has somebody to get a listing. Oh, is Alan going to be in that one? And vice versa.
Yeah.
Because we just play off of each other, and now we're doing stuff for the company at the corporate level, and they like it because we're bringing more eyeballs to Serhant.
Yes.
Because of just being our personalities. We're not changing who we are.
Yes.
We're just being who we are because we actually have fun. And, yes, you have to negotiate deals, and you got to talk to clients, and some of them are easier than others. But at the end of the day, it's about closing the deal, moving on to the next deal, and having as much enjoyment as you can while you do it. But also working, we both understand how to work with the other side to get the deal closed when we need to get the deal closed.
Absolutely, because, it's funny. I remember when I started, 04, 05. It was a very similar real estate boom to what we saw during the pandemic boom, from late 2020 through 2022. Everything was on fire. Deals were getting done, before the ink dried, everything was off market. Right. And I remember, I had 120 listings. Everything was flowing through us in this little planned community where my dad and I worked as a broker team. And we were the number one producer for the office and the number 2 overall Century 21 agent in North and South Carolina combined.
Wow.
Back in 2005. But I remember my dad telling me one day, speaking of that, he said, look, you got to be nice to these cooperating brokers because at some point markets change, markets shift, and you want them to bring their buyer to you. Want them to think, you want them to see your name on MLS and say, I want to work with this guy. He's nice. I can trust him, and this guy can get a deal done with me. So I think that's one thing we've all learned, and we do really well together. Not just working, side by side, but getting the other brokers to come to us and work with us because that's at least half the battle.
Because we make it easy. We're really not difficult to work with, and we're professionals. Yeah. We know how to, we've read the contracts. We know what language says. So many people haven't even read sales contracts.
True.
Because here in Florida, you fill in the blanks, and most of them don't even know what they're filling in. They just know these are the blanks that have to be
they don't know what they're
together.
signing.
And having a lawyer background is huge. That's...
it's funny because I used to bother me a little bit because I used to think lawyers are, adverse to risk. They kill deals, like CPAs and, and I didn't want clients to think that. And you met the guy on the street that day, but one of my best, I won't say his name, he's very private. One of my best clients, he's bought 7 properties with me, including Ocon Tower.
Right.
And he told me one day, he said, one thing I really like about you is you do have the attorney background. You've sat on the other side of the closing table and done the HUDs and the documents. And so even though maybe, you're not technically my attorney for the deal, you're just acting as a broker, you're going to see it with a different set of eyes. You can't deny that. And I think, even just turning that into experience, you look at Alan with all the experience that he's got, from the corporate world and in real estate brokerage, he's going to see things different too, right? He's not this new kid on the block, who's looking at a form for the first time. And so I think it's that fine line of protecting the client, right? But also, you got to be willing to play with fire just enough to get the deal done. And everyone needs a little bit of a push.
Yes.
And sometimes you just have to, it's a give and take in this industry. Because nobody gets whatever they want. No buyer gets something at the price they want. No seller sells at the price they want.
Yeah.
But, together you get it done.
Right. Exactly.
Because sellers are always going to overprice their property to start with. And you're like, okay, let's see what happens in 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And this just happened to me just a couple of days ago. 6 weeks ran up. Okay, we didn't get it. Now let's go at the price I told you we should be at. That happened yesterday, and I had 3 people call today, and now their clients want to come back and look again because now they saw that the price was where it should be
every
in the
time.
Right price range. But that's what happens because we also have to read our clients, whether they're buyers or sellers. You got to tell buyers you'll have to come up. You got to tell sellers they got to come down.
Sure.
But you got to say in a way that's factual, and that's what we know how to do. Is we know how to read the numbers and tell people what's going on out there in a way that we're not being offensive to them.
Right.
And we're not defending another position. We're just being honest, and people see that. We're both honest in what we do.
Right.
And we know the numbers, and we know the contracts. We know how to get the deals done. And that's why people want to work with us.
And clients have to go through the motions sometimes. We know exactly what needs to be done, but sometimes they just have to see for themselves.
Yeah, it's an education.
Yeah,
Some clients just need to be educated.
Exactly.
And you have to be patient with them. And a lot of people don't have patience. Listen, I don't have patience in a lot of things, but in business you have no choice.
But you're a New Yorker, so
right. That's just where it comes from. But you
Best
don't
accent
have a
in
choice.
the game. Huh? So I love your accent. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, I do my best.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm from the Bronx. So, and again, as I always say, I had diction lessons. So this is what you ended up with, not what you started out with.
It adds the whole character, though. I mean, for the now, fast forward, for the content, for these, it's not even a persona. You guys are just being yourselves on camera. It just adds to everything. It's, It's awesome.
My voice is part of my brand.
Yes, exactly.
Just
it
like
is your brand.
I always
Yeah.
wore a suit when I was in corporate, and I still wear it because every one of the clients that brought me in and they recruited me, they're like, no, you have to wear a suit.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I don't want to wear a suit anymore.
Yeah.
I'm in Miami. No, you have to wear a suit and you have to wear a tie and you have to have a pocket square. And
Yeah.
it was always my look. And quite honestly, people have one chance to see who you are.
Yep.
And we wear suits and people just assume we know more or we're more professional, which of course we are. So that's not to be said without.
This just solidifies it. It's
Right.
funny. I was in the lobby of a luxury building in Brickell one time, and this guy walked up to me. Never seen him, no idea who the guy was. And he walked up to me and he said, I have a broker I work with, but if I ever were to make a change, I would work with you. And I said, well, I'd be happy to. I'm not taking food off someone's plate, but if you ever want to make a change, I would welcome the client.
And here's my card.
Yeah. And I said, I'm just curious. Have we met? Have we talked? He said, no. He said, but I always see you walking through here, showing property, meeting with people, and you're always in a suit. Mm. And that's what changed my whole. That was my wake up call of it's presentation, right? And he said, look, it can be 100 degrees outside like today, and you're in a suit because you're dressed to do business.
Yes.
Right.
It's huge. It's huge.
It's just, it's just
First impression's everything.
We didn't even know each other when we were wearing suits.
Right.
But we it's the same thing. You have 1 minute to do it. And I realized how much it works for me and it works for us.
Sure.
And it's just, now it's just the way it is.
See, I'm a suit guy back home for everything. But even I feel at a place with my Miami attire.
Right.
Or so I thought. But next time, I'll do the suit with you guys.
Hey,
It's a good
you
look
get
on you,
to
though.
do
I
whatever
appreciate
you
that.
want,
Appreciate that.
It's
I'm out
your
of good bed.
program. We're just the guest.
We're just happy to
We
be
just
here.
happen to
Yeah.
be dressed like this today.
Appreciate it.
Look, he's cracking up over there.
There you go.
Already.
But I'd love to dive into
Sure.
Serhant more. So I'd love to know,
Great.
what attracted you to want to join the brand.
Well, they came to us.
They did.
We didn't go to them.
But even you're at Douglas Elliman,
Right.
Really well known company. So like, what was it about Serhant that?
I'll say this.
Transform your construction experience with Iron Shake. Their done-for-you service handles everything with expert precision, from general contracting to project management. Whether connecting with top trades to help support your projects, or if you prefer to do it yourself, their tools and technology empower you to manage with ease. So why choose Iron Shake? They're more than just a construction company. They're a partner in your success. Visit ironshakeinc.com for more details.
I was on a morning run, I don't know, 2 years ago, whatever the case was, and my phone rang. And it was one of the head people in operations with corporate, with Serhant in New York, And I had talked to the guy a little bit, but I didn't really know him that well.
Ryan?
No, it wasn't Ryan.
It was not Ryan yet. And long story short, I took the call. I've been doing some referral business, for the clients that wanted to buy or sell down here. And I thought that's why the guy was calling. And as soon as he mentioned that Ryan was kind of quietly exploring, opening an office specifically in Miami, it piqued my interest. And I flew up there. We met in Ryan's office. We had a very, open, candid conversation. And I immediately jumped at the opportunity. And I said, listen, and this is what I love about Ryan. I said, where's the office? He said, we're looking for space. I said, who's the sales director? He said, we're interviewing. I said, who's going to be the broker? He said, me. I'm like, you're in New York? He goes, yeah. I said, okay. And he said, we're building the plane as we fly. And I said, you know why I'm in? With no hesitation, because number one, you're always 5 steps ahead of everybody else in the industry. Mm-hmm. Number two, you're very tech savvy. You're big on social media. You're big online. That's where people are. It's an eyeballs game now. But third, and most important, I said, Ryan, I've followed you for years. I met you some time ago, and I love your energy. I love your passion, your approach to business. And I like the way you work. The guy gets up at 4 a.m. every day. When I first came on, I tested him to make sure that was true. And I sent him a text at like 4:30 in the morning. The guy wrote back in 2 seconds with the rocket ship taking. I'm like, oh, this is real. He really does this. I made the right decision. So to me, it's all about like integrity. It's the way you approach business. It's the energy you bring to the table.
Yes.
You know, and the passion someone has for it, and the fact that he's like, and you can attest to this, he's always beating everyone around the corner in terms of like the next step.
Yes.
He's that ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd love
he's
to
always
unpack
looking
that.
at the future.
I'd love to unpack that, like being close proximity to, like what do you think it is about Ryan that like has him always being one step ahead?
Well, if you look at Ryan's past, I mean, he started off working at NetSeekers, and he got right away into $1 Million Listing. They were just doing a cold call because he was he was trying to be an actor in New York.
Yeah.
And it wasn't panning out. He went into real estate, and he got, as he first got, to get his license, they were doing cold calls for a show. And he got put onto that show. And that show gave him a platform
Which he took full advantage
just
of.
took off like crazy. And he was smart enough to realize that, it wasn't mailing postcards anymore. Although, don't get us wrong, it's still a very, very successful business tool over and over again.
And it still works for us from time to time in the right situation.
Right, and it's just amazing
However,
that it still works. But
right.
yes, but he was so ahead of the game because he realized what TV brought him the exposure and brought him clients just because of the eyeballs that were on TV. And that was what, 15 years ago. Yeah. So social media was just getting started. There was Facebook. There was no Instagram yet. Facebook hadn't done it. None of these other platforms were really around yet. But he was watching it. He knew that it was bringing eyeballs to the game now and that it was watching people. And as social media started to build and build, he was right ahead of doing it. And that's why we're really, blessed to be with him, if you will be, because he really looked ahead. And I think it was all from that platform, from the television show, and he was on it for 10 years. And then he just, his show just launched on Netflix because they gave him a show. And the first few weeks, it was the #1 show around the world. Now, of course, everybody's watched it and, they're on to something else. But he was able to know that this was where people were watching. He was able to know, and he's the first one that tells us, don't stop doing postcards. Because it's still an effective tool, but it's a tool to put into your toolkit, if you will, with all these other platforms. And he'll be the first one to say, get out there, build your social media content. And that's what happens at Serhant. They're very large on building social media for you. They give you the tools to do it.
And the encouragement.
And a studio to go in and the people to shoot it for you and to do this all for you. But he tells you, he goes, the tried and tested tools are still to be used, but you're to enhance it with this because, everybody's ADD. They're only going to watch a reel. If you're lucky, you get them to 30 seconds. If they don't like your first 3 to 5 seconds, they're scrolling to somebody else. Yeah. So you have to make it really engaging from the very beginning. But the thing that we find with the postcards and with mailing and direct mail and and to still do emails to people is that it's the repetitiveness of seeing you all the time. And like Matt said, they saw him in this lobby. This one guy kept seeing him in the same lobby all the time. It's the same thing when the same postcard is mailed to you all the time.
Yeah.
With just listed or just closed, it's in your neighborhood, it's in your building. That's what people want to see, that you're actually successful at what you're doing.
Results.
Yeah, and just to sort of cap what he just said. I remember the conversation I had with Ryan at the dinner. We sat side by side, and I kind of dug into, how do I balance the print work, and the social media and the online presence. And he said, listen, letters, postcards, the print stuff. I'm not saying don't ever do it. What I'm saying is your social, okay, your online presence, your social media presence, that's your constant drumbeat. Imagine a cadence when an army is walking, the left, right, left, right. It's like the drum beat, the do. Yeah. And then that big cymbal snare, the psh, that's your postcard where it's like, social, just sold. Right. So it's like you have to blend it together. Right. But it's all about, essentially
it's all part of a marketing plan these days.
Yeah.
And that's what we do.
And look at us here on this spot.
And here we
exactly.
are now.
Well, that's how I found you guys. And I'd love to unpack, do you guys have any cool social media success stories?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. Well, he's got a great one, but I can't top his stuff. But let me just say this. I'll never forget. So the closing attorney who I close all my deals with, Alejandro Jordan, the greatest closing attorney in Miami. Call him, bam, there you go.
Shout out, Alejandro.
Yes, subscribe to him.
Yes, he's amazing. I'll never forget this. In 2021, when the market was so on fire, that anything on MLS was already under contract, right? Or it would be in the next 2 minutes, and you had to work off market, okay? I would do what I would call a hunting hour every day, where I would figure out who the owners were, and I would hunt them down on Instagram and LinkedIn. Got to know your buildings. Some buildings, it's an Instagram crowd. Some buildings, it's a LinkedIn crowd. Other buildings, it's a very private crowd, and you got to dig and dig and dig and dig and dig. Now, I found this lady, I won't say her name, with a beautiful waterfront condo in Miami. I had a buyer that wanted to buy there, but there was no inventory.
Okay.
So I found her on Instagram. I sent her a DM. Short and sweet. Nobody wants to read a long message. And I'll call her Heather. That wasn't her name. But long story short, I'm like, Heather, I have a buyer for your condo at a record price. We can close in 30 days. You're going to make money. Let me know. She writes back. Okay, how much? All right. Fast forward, I did the entire deal from sight unseen, contract, to the inspection, all the way through closing. I never had her phone number. I never had her email. The entire thing was through an Instagram DM.
That's insane.
She showed up at closing. I swear this is true, And so I get to the closing, and the attorney goes, really quick for the file, what's the email and the phone number? I said, I have no idea. I can give you her Instagram name, her handle. He's like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, what kind of broker are you? I'm like, someone who's working in the 21st century in the age of social media. So she finally shows up. We closed, deal done. And she looked at me and she goes, good job. Now that you got that closed, you can have my number. I'm like, okay. So that's my crazy social media like sales story. That to this day, I'm like, I did a deal through a DM from start to. What are we living in? What kind of world is this?
Yeah,
that's the world we live in
now.
I mean, just today, I got somebody who sent me something through Instagram and sent me the listing. He wants me to sell his house.
Yeah, I was there for that.
Yeah, you were there today.
In the little elevator we were in together.
Yeah. I mean, these things are happening all the time. More and more people, just like you found me through my Instagram, I think. People find that all the time now.
Yeah.
Because, and I'll say this with all due respect to myself, people love to hate me. Because that's what keeps the algorithm up.
So we love you.
Thank you.
We like you, Alan. I was actually trying to beat you today.
But that's really what happens is that, people, I talk, about Miami real estate and Florida real estate. Everyone's like, oh, he doesn't know anything. He's this New Yorker. He came down for one day. He doesn't know what he's talking about. This restaurant, no, nobody goes there, blah, blah, blah. And as they fight with each other, the algorithm moves up and moves up and moves up. And I get, millions of views here and this one and that one. And it's all from people because the more they fight with each other and the more they hate my voice or look at him, it's the summertime, he's wearing a suit in Miami, he doesn't know anything. Go back to New York, and they make fun of my accent and everything.
It's engagement.
Yeah, and that's it. The more they get engaged and the more they talk to each other and they hate me and people will say stuff, the more the algorithm moves me into everybody's reels and then they keep arguing and I got stuff from months ago that are still generating this stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's unbelievable to me. And then I repost it again and it starts all over again.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing to me because, in social media these days, it's engagement, not just engaging with me, but when they engage with each other online and they either like it or hate it. And we get millions of views on stuff. And we get things like people just will contact us sometimes because they're like, oh, we saw this online. Because we do a lot of our listings, and we talk about it. Now it's just listed and now it just sold. And, you missed this one, but there's another one coming. And when I tell people, I've learned that my opening line is, let me just tell you what you missed. Or let me tell you something.
Nice
People
hook.
just want to hear how wrong I am about something. And because we ran this through our social media team in New York, we're like, why is this one picking up and this one's not going and this one? And they're like, because sometimes you're too nice at the beginning. People just want to hate what you have to say. And they just want to hear what you have to say. And they want to just say, you're wrong. You know, and that's what keeps the algorithm going.
Yeah.
And it just amazes me, but it works every single time. And now we're doing it with, you know, with some properties we're doing down here with a new campaign, which we're calling Affordable Luxury Living in Florida, in Miami, in Brickell, in South Beach. And the more we tell people, let me tell you what you just missed.
The more haters you get. And the more engagement you get, I love it. But it's, you know,
and the more people who then want to know, oh, I missed it? Can I get the next one?
And what's funny is, you know, you get all the detractors and the haters, and all, but you also have this big conglomerate of people who are like, wait a minute, that's under $1 million.
Yeah,
exactly. And where is that?
Right.
How do I buy that?
Right,
You know?
exactly.
And you know, and luxury is, you know, it's perspective for the individual, right? Like, you know, somebody, you know, in their mind, affordable luxury could be under $5 million, could be under $10 million.
Right.
It depends on the budget, depends on the lifestyle choices the person has, you know. But that's a campaign that we're working on, and it's really taken off through social, you know, and online.
Listen,
and
luxury, you know, you look around here, you know, 15 years ago, before the recession, luxury could be a $500,000 apartment. It still had a gym. It still had, you know, a concierge, a valet, a spa. It had all of the same amenities. Yeah. It just wasn't a 5,000 square foot flow through apartment.
Yeah. It just, like you said, it's some point, you know, somebody magically picked a price point,
right,
to quote unquote define.
And it was $1 million back 15 years ago,
yeah.
And now it's probably, you know, $2 million.
Yeah, just like they say, you know, ultra luxury is what, over $5 million.
$1 million.
You know, so you know,
who makes that decision? It's some random number that the industry decides.
And we think the client should.
But we think the client should define what's luxury, because it's an individual choice.
Yeah. Right.
What is considered luxury to somebody? To somebody who's coming out of a little apartment in Manhattan, just having, you know, 1,000 square foot apartment could be luxury to them.
Yeah. Or having a balcony could be luxury.
A balcony.
That's
right.
like Toronto too. Like 1,000 is big for us.
Well, that's why we
big.
listen to what our clients want. We don't tell them what luxury is. No. We don't tell them what it isn't.
They tell us.
We ask them also. When we meet new buyers, we're like, you know, what do you want to do every day? Like, you're down here. What are you coming down here for? You want the beach? Do you want an urban environment? Do you want a golf course environment? Like, what are you going to do every day?
Right.
Like, why are you here? And then we try to fit them into the right property.
And we're gonna get. So I want to dive into Florida, but I want to know your story first. Social media story. What is the story?
Well, there's a few, but the one that I know that Matt was referring to was, and this was I was talking about a little before, and this is what brought me a lot of people, was when I first started with Serhant, they brought me into the studio because they're just like, they saw my social media before, and they're like, we just want to shoot you because, as you've learned, you know, I don't have to go through a lot of testing, and it just comes out. Yeah. You know, whatever I'm saying. You know, so somebody once called it, I don't know, can I say this, verbal diarrhea?
Yeah,
the way that my mouth just talks and talks and talks. But I'm a New Yorker and I don't shut up, and I know that. You know, but they brought me in and they're like, okay, you know, part of what I was brought in for was to help to brand Florida and brand Miami from my branding background. So, like, we want you to talk about, you know, we're going to throw you some questions about Miami. You know, what's your favorite, you know, your 3 favorite neighborhoods, your favorite restaurants, your favorite beaches? Like, you know, tell us. So I did it not knowing what was happening. And within the course of a couple of days, there was 1 million views.
Wow.
And they're like, we have never had an agent get this much views. And they're like, I said, and I didn't really realize it because I had successes, but never like those numbers before. And I'm like, why? And they're like, oh, because everyone hates you. And I was like, because, you know, I don't really read the comments because I didn't even know. I just, you know, I just got a call one day going, do you see what's going on that post? And it was a couple of days later. I was like, no, you know, I don't really pay attention to the insights and stuff.
Well, take a look.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, holy shit. And they're like, well, you know, Why? We need you to do more. We need more.
What are some of these comments, though? I need to know some.
Oh, most of it was what I said before.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Right.
He's a New Yorker. He flew down for one day because I talked about my favorite restaurants or my neighborhoods. I was like, I love Brickell.
Miami or whatever.
Yeah, I love Brickell. I love Wynwood, and then I said, I love Coconut Grove. My favorite restaurants. I said Sexy Fish, Pastis, Michael's, whatever it was. They were like, he doesn't know anything. What does he know? What does he know? Look at him. He can't even talk. He doesn't know anything. Go back to New York. You came down for one day. And the more they were insulting me, the more the algorithm built up again.
It just stirred the pot.
Yeah. I never really had haters because I had good, social media following, but I never had haters like this before. I remember back in the old days, it was the hashtags.
Yeah.
Now it's not hashtags anymore. Nobody cares anymore. It's what you say. What is it picking up? Which words are now the keywords that people are searching for?
Yeah.
And it's all in what you say now. It's not in hashtags. Nobody does that stuff anymore. And so I was just saying stuff, and I didn't even know what I was saying because I was just talking off the top of my mind. And that's what got it started. And then we did a lot more like that and a lot more. And it was always like, you're blowing up. And I'm like, but why am I blowing up? And that's when I found out. And that's how we found out to say, let me tell you what you need to know. I did another one that said, let me tell you why Florida is a great place to live in, about the tax benefits and this and that. A couple of days, there was 700,000, 800,000 people, all of them, basically saying I didn't know what I was talking about.
And you did a deal, though? Did you do a deal from that?
Oh, yeah.
So what's
did a lot of deals from it.
What's your craziest story?
Well, it's not a
deal.
social media story on deals.
Okay.
But one of my best stories was that I sold sight unseen during COVID. I sold a Venetian Island house, sight unseen for $8 million to a New York couple.
Wow.
Because they wanted a place to come down here.
So they just said, hey, Alan.
Well, they had already lost 3 or 4 places because they were lowballing on stuff. And I was like, COVID's starting, people are coming, you better pay full price. And I knew the broker. I was with Element at the time, and I knew the broker had the listing. I called them up. Can I get this? They'll pay full price. Okay, sure. They came in. They were here. COVID ended, so they paid $8 million for it. 30 months later, I sold it for $12 million.
Wow.
And they did nothing.
Yeah.
The house was actually falling apart. It was in worse condition that they got it. But then it was the client who got it, of course. And I was like, what do you need with a 7-bedroom house? You're a young guy who's living on your own. You heard the story, but you didn't know this was the background to it. And he's like, well, I shoot porn. And I need, because he kept asking me about bedrooms and sound and soundproofing and lighting and what comes through it. And I was like, what do you care? Like, it's a bedroom. And then he's like, no, I need this, we're going to set up a studio here.
This was the story I was referencing.
Welcome to Miami.
I'm so glad he told the story.
Right.
Yeah.
And, and I was like, oh, sure. And he's like, it was listed, and he's like, okay, this is what it costs. This is what I want. It was listed a little bit higher, but I knew that was the number. And I told these guys, I said, where else would you make that type of profit, in 30 months on an investment like that? And remember, they only had $4 million down. They had a mortgage on it, which they didn't really pay off. So I said, you got $4 million, you made $8 million on it. I said, that's not bad for 30 months.
No,
and you live there. And you did nothing. But they didn't shoot porn.
I didn't sell. I have not. I'm yet to sell a $12 million house for a porn star. However, my crazy 30-second story would be: I had a random message, believe it or not, through Facebook Messenger, and it was someone who I grew up with many, many years ago. Different state, different time. Hadn't talked to this person in probably 15 years. The person contacted me and said, listen, you're selling real estate in Miami, right? I'm like, yeah, sure, Can you help my sister buy a place? Okay, sure. Long story short, I meet them. I show them, a few condos, like about $1 million, something like that. And we go for a drink, and I said, what do you like? What do you think? She said, no, I like the one for $3.5 million. I'm like, oh, do you have the budget for that? She's like, yeah. Like, okay. I was like, so what's the issue? She's like, my mom wants me to buy the one for 1.5, but I want the one for 3.5 million. I'm like, are you writing the check? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, how old are you? She's like, 20. I'm like,
I wonder, where does she have this money?
and I can't say. I'm sworn to secrecy on this. And if she sees this, she knows who she is. And, I'll have to explain myself later. But,
Right.
to make a long story short, she's like, can you talk to my mom and tell her? I'm like, what? And she's like, can you tell my, I'm like, you can't talk to your mom?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, my mom won't understand, So I text her mom and her mom gets all upset. And we go look at the place. And they, the mom's like, not happy. And I'm like, listen, talk to your mom. It's your money. It's going to be your life. You're going to be the one living here. It's your deal at the end of the day. She buys the $3.5 million place. It's actually in Brickell. And we get to the walkthrough. And the mom doesn't want to close. And she's like, they didn't fix the little holes in the wall where they had the paintings.
Oh, that's the worst.
We're not ready to close. And the attorney I just mentioned, Alejandro, saved the deal because he had to call and was like, look, we're closing today or your deposits, and we close. But that was my crazy story. It was this random Facebook message from this guy I hadn't talked to in 15 years.
Yeah.
And his sister wants $1 million place. And then it turns into a $3.5 million place. And we close.
Right. I want to know though, why was the mother so involved with this?
You know what? I mean, the girl was like 20, 21. She was coming for school. They're like one big family. They kind of like live together.
Right.
The mom was like, not really the one in charge, but she had like some influence,
Right.
The girl was still young, and it's like, now she's happy as a lark and, it's amazing. But it's just crazy how that stuff happens.
No, these things happen all the time.
And I was like, I'm not trying to talk the price up. I mean, if that's what you really want.
That's what they told you.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so there we go.
These type of stories come up listen, I mean, I won't go into it, but how about that one now at Ocon with, I have somebody and, the father's buying him the apartment. And they can't decide, which apartment are they buying, the less expensive one for $2 million or the more expensive one for $3 million. And that's because the father wants the son to have to pay for the monthlies out of his allowance.
Oh.
And he doesn't think that he'll have enough of an allowance to live his lifestyle and pay for the more expensive one. So he wants me to talk to his father to have his allowance increased.
Oh, interesting. So you do that job now.
So I'm in the middle of this right now.
So you're negotiating allowance.
I'm negotiating with the father to raise his son's allowance to cover the overhead.
That's not even like a real estate deal. That's just like, hey, can you increase the
familial
allowance?
matters.
Right.
I mean,
and I'm
that's
like,
awesome.
and I have to talk to the father because I'm closer to the father's age than the son's age.
Yeah.
And he's like, my father will listen to you if you tell him it's a good investment, but that, he needs to increase my allowance.
Interesting.
And I'm just like, well, buy the little young. I don't care which one you buy,
The
basically. But but these are the type of stories that we get from people because they also trust us to do these type of deals for them.
Which is
and
great.
it's all about trust at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely.
And we come across trustworthy because we are.
I had a client 8 months ago call me, and she said, I'm at an open house with my husband, and we like the house. I'm like, okay, where is it? It's in Pompano Beach. Cool. What do you like about it? It's got a pool. I love the location. It's quiet. Okay. How can I help? Can you ride up here? And if you like it and you're comfortable with it, we're going to buy it. Seriously? Yeah. Okay. I'm like an hour away and it's 2:00 on a Saturday. Are you coming? Yes. So I ride up there and literally I walk through and they're like, what do you think? And I'm like, it's really nice. I like it. It's probably underpriced at $1,250,000 and it's going to sell. Okay, we'll take it. Okay. And it's just, sometimes you have those scenarios where it's like, oh yeah, okay. And the client sometimes just wants to hear you say,
Right.
I'm comfortable with this too.
For sure.
I think it's a good fit for you. I don't see any major problems, and I'm happy to help,
Right.
to represent you.
It's just, we could go on and on. There are so many of these type of stories
Which
that
is
we
good.
get all day, every day.
Which makes the job fun.
Yeah,
I experienced some craziness.
Yeah,
And we will get into some craziness. But I do want to jump into the market quickly.
Right.
We'll do this like rapid fire.
Yeah,
okay?
sure.
I want to know top 5 reasons to buy in Florida.
You want to go back and forth like one?
No,
one?
listen.
Yeah.
The number one reason right now is because prices have settled down. They really have gotten back to a level. I'm not talking the ultra luxury market, because that's slowing down tremendously. But the everyday pricing on stuff, we're finding that, COVID jumped everything up like crazy in Florida. And now it's all coming back to it's normalizing itself to where this market should be. And there's never been a better time right now than to buy down here, because so many people that bought during COVID, or so many people that were investors during the recession, that they bought stuff at lower prices than they should have been, they're all looking to sell now. A lot of the foreigners who bought in during the recession, the dollar was weak then, their dollar was stronger. It's reversed now. The HOAs are going back to a normal price that they were never like in Florida before. And we're just realizing that it's a great time. It's an opportunistic time right now to buy in Florida. And even the luxury market, we're seeing that developers, because there's such an overbuilding going on in Florida, we're finding that developers, even in the ultra luxury market, are cutting deals like crazy to move out properties, because they can't get their construction loans unless they sell, 50, they have contracts on 50 to 70% of the building, depending on who the developer is. So it's an amazing time to buy now at all different price points.
Amazing. Point number one of the top 5 reasons. I 1,000% concur. I think, in addition to the fact that, you're getting a little better deal in 2024, than you were in 21 or 22 or even 23, I love the changing of the dynamics in Florida, particularly South Florida. And, it's one thing that we talk about all the time where, back in the day, okay, back in the 90s, back in the early 2000s, heck, back in the 2010s even. Take Brickell, Miami, for example. Brickell was banks. Brickell was a few condo buildings. You didn't have premier restaurants, like Sexy Fish, like a Hutong, like a Komodo,
right.
You didn't have, the nightlife. You didn't have the shopping at, the Brickell City Center, or the ability to scoot 10 minutes down the road and get to the design district over there. But Florida has grown and transformed so tremendously in the not just the last 5 years since the pandemic, but the last 10 years. I love the fact that someone's making a sophisticated purchase now in a real city that's so dynamic. You can be in South America in 2 hours. You can be in Europe in 6 hours from a major, awesome international airport. You have one of the best beaches in the world. And I think it's the fact that you're getting all this value that you couldn't get 10, 15, 20 years ago, because Miami is really changing. So now it's like this real sophisticated city. So I would
lifestyle.
Yeah, I agree with his point number one on value.
And I agree with your point, because it's a place to live now. It's a destination city to actually live in, not just a tourist trap anymore. And it was always South Beach, really. That was where the tourists, you came here for the beach. But now people are coming here because they want to be in Brickell. They want to be in an urban environment. And I say this all the time because it's true. Brickell is the second densest urban core in the U.S. outside of Manhattan. And people want that lifestyle, especially if they don't want to be in Manhattan, or they find Manhattan's too overpriced. People from the Midwest, Manhattan's too big. It's just too involved. But they come here, it's smaller. And you think of Miami, and we know Miami is spread out all over the place. A lot of people think of Brickell as downtown, although downtown is really on the other side of the river, and it's all melding into one place, more or less. But people are coming here because they just like the idea of being in an urban environment and being in the sun all year long. And even in the summer when it's hot, they're like, okay, it's hot. So you just wear, shorts and, linen shirts all year long. And, you run to the pool and, people just do it. But we're finding that, it's actually, because we focus, of course, down here in the Southeast. But even cities like Tampa are growing, and Orlando is growing, because people are just finding there's so many other places they can live besides the Southeast, which is what we like. And we like Miami as, the place. But, people just want to be down here now. And also, if you live up north, it's, like you go to Orlando, you can get more for your dollar than you can in Miami.
Yeah.
A lot of young couples are moving in. They're finding Orlando and Tampa is, more economically feasible for them to go. And there's a lot of job growth in Florida in general. There's a lot of job growth in hospitality, and the medical fields that are going on down here. It's unbelievable the amount of job growth that's happening down here, whether it's tech, which is good, finance is moving down here. Like, there's just so much job growth down here, so we're finding that a lot of people are coming here for that as well. And then the tax benefits, if you actually live here, since there's no state income tax, you don't, you're making more from your check. If you're living down here as well, you're taking home more.
That's a big one.
Oh yeah, I was going to throw that as my number 3. Is we don't have a state income tax.
Well, that is number 3. I mean, we're
100%.
1, 2, that was 3.
That's got to be 3.
I agree. Yeah,
because the thing,
the tax benefits of being here.
And we have no state income tax, right? And so we have a lot of clients. It's like, first of all, we're not CPAs.
Right.
We're not licensed to give you tax advice. We can tell you, a bullet point. Always confirm.
This is where there are some savings to be done, of course.
But at the end of the day, if someone can stay here more than 6 months, they can claim to be a resident.
Right.
They no longer have state income taxes generally in the state where they're coming from. Why do you think so many billionaires and multimillionaires and successful people? Why do they create a homestead here under the Florida Homestead Act?
How much are they saving?
It's a huge tax benefit, at the end of the day, because a portion of the property is going to be deducted from the taxable value. So it can be a significant savings. And the other side of that, from a legal perspective, is you get incredible creditor protection. Why do you think George Perez, the CEO of Related, who lives in the penthouse in Park Grove Tower 1, it's just in his name. People look at that and say, doesn't he have counsel to give him asset protection advice? Yeah, under the Florida homestead laws. So you get these incredible tax benefits.
Right.
You get creditor protection.
But for your property tax, is what we're talking about. If you live here, your property tax goes up a maximum of like 1% a year if they do something at all.
Right.
Where if it's not
protected.
claimed as your full-time residence, you can do like every other state. They can go up whatever they want.
Fair.
But Florida is the only. Well, I don't know if it's the only one of the states that has that.
With no income tax?
No, for the property tax.
For the tax
But
situation.
if you're a resident here, your property tax is basically what you paid at the time is what it is. And you can actually, over the years, you can ask for reductions because your property is worth less because it's on the assessed value, not the appraised value. Right. And the assessed value changes all the time. But you have to ask them to lower your taxes. They don't just do it automatically. But that's another great savings to be here, which is why people like George Perez, they have that penthouse under their own name because their property tax isn't going to go up. If it's under an LLC, it goes up.
100%. I'm going to throw in a number 4 that I think, from an investor standpoint, we have people who talk about, did we see a bubble? Did we see this boom and bust mentality, from the pandemic? In some markets, maybe yes, but I think Florida still has a lot of room to run, a lot of room to grow, from these, companies, from whether it's tech, banking, whatever it is that are coming down here. There's still a ton of capital investment in South Florida, whether it's businesses coming in, whether it's new developments coming in. So I think from an investor standpoint, at least from our line of work, we're still getting a lot of calls, emails, texts, whatever you want to call it, from these investors who are saying, look, I'm not into this flash in the pan, short-term COVID boom. Right. I'm looking, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. I like what South Florida is doing. I like the direction it's moving in. And I think it's still a really, really solid place for the long-term investor.
Yeah.
I think that's a great number 4 point.
Right. Like as I said, and I mean, we talked about this earlier off camera, Florida has approximately 2,000 people a day moving to this state. Miami is like the number 1 city now in the country where people are coming to live here, and Florida as a state it's one of the top states that are having the influx of people coming here. And a lot of it is the tax benefits and the weather. A lot of people just, and listen, you're from Canada. Canadians are one of our largest groups that have always bought in Florida,
Snowbirds.
And that's because, they can drive back and forth.
Yeah.
And they can just be here, And there's always been, it's been one of the biggest, demographics coming here. And it still is. I mean, yes, the South Americans, but the Canadian, it's just, you're a smaller country. So, everything's proportional. But Canada's always been a big, feeder for South Florida.
100%. And I think that's a great number 5 to close with, on that list is the weather. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't get cold here. Let's just say that, right? I mean, and people, come here for the winter season.
And we're talking South Florida.
Florida.
North Florida is different.
It's a different ballgame.
We don't go there.
Our peak season is the winter. I already had a client text me last night, and he said, listen, we're past July 4th. We're ready to find a place to come down from New York to rent for 6 months from October through March.
Right.
Find me a place. This is my budget. So, the weather is always, an absolute game changer here. We have the best winters, I think, in the country. And I think it's a great number 5 point to close with.
Yeah, solid points.
Yeah.
My next question, if you guys could own any penthouse in Miami, which one would it be?
Okay, I tell you what, I would. That's a great question.
What size is really the question? How much square feet do you need?
This is just for us, what we want, right?
Yeah, right. The penthouse that you would live in, any penthouse in Miami.
I tell you what, I'm going to say this, and I realize that we're on location right now, very close to where this is. I'm going to go with the 3-story, tri-level penthouse at the Austin Martin.
Right there.
It's right there. And they want $50 million for that, and you have your own pool and your own workout facility.
It's worth it.
Helicopter
and yet
pad.
It's not Brickell.
And a helo pad.
It's not Brickell. It's downtown Miami.
That's what I would take.
Because downtown Miami is the new Brickell.
That's what I would take.
Yeah.
No. What about you? Or would you do the same thing?
I do like downtown. I don't know if maybe I haven't seen it yet. The one that's at the Waldorf.
That's not a bad pick.
To be built.
Yeah.
The one that's going to be built.
TBD. The first 100-story building going up in downtown. There's 3 or 4 more in the works already. And I've seen it. I don't think it has sold yet. I don't think it even went on the market. Although we don't know. Because these penthouses in these type of buildings these days, they all get sold privately. Nobody wants to be told. Nobody wants anyone to know who's buying it.
And oftentimes it's after they get a CEO in the building.
Right.
Because developer can hold that back and, sell it at some point.
The people with that type of money are not putting it there until... That's why people are like, how come the Aston Martin penthouse didn't sell before? And it's like, because the person who's buying it, they'll put their money someplace else that's going to make them... They're not putting the 50% down. They don't want $25 million sitting there, that they're holding for 5 years till it gets built. They'll just put it someplace else and just spend it when it's there.
And this is like honorable mention. It's such a tough question to answer. There's so many cool buildings in there. I mean, what about the penthouse to be at the Mandarin Oriental that they're putting up waterfront at Brickell Key? That's going to be amazing. What about the penthouse to be Old Brickell Avenue, where they filmed the Miami Vice intro down
a lot of penthouse to be.
What about the penthouse we did today that we took you for? This 3-story penthouse, 7,000 square feet inside with 3,000 square feet outside, and it had a private pool to be built the way you want it. Priced right because it's decorated already. You could build it out yourself, and it'll still be done before these buildings are done.
100%, and it's the rooftop basically at the Brickell Flatiron, and
I love it. I mean, I could live above Sexy Fish all day long.
I was going to sprinkle this in, but maybe you could buy it with the contingency that they install like a big fireman's pole all the way down to Sexy Fish
and
for
back.
you.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Right.
There you go.
Because it really just depends because. I mean, do I need 7,000 square feet these days? Maybe. I could be happy in, 3,000. I'm in 2,000 now, and it feels small. But the point is, what views do I want? Do I want to be over there in Reach? I mean, we're looking at it. They have beautiful terraces, you know? But,
Or maybe you go to the Faena house, Casa de Faena, on the ocean front.
Do I want to be on the beach? Do I want to be, in one of the new buildings that are going up that hasn't been built yet?
There's just so many different options.
Yeah.
Whether you want to be on the sand, as Alan likes to say, or you want the urban living.
Right. I love urban living. If I was retiring, do I want to take an elevator to be on the sand every day and be on the beach? Or do I want to just, join a beach club? You know, do I want to live in the one? Do I want hotel amenities? I could live in the St. Regis up in Bal Harbour and be on the sand every day.
Sounds
and
like
have
there's
a hotel.
just a ton of good options.
It's what we always tell people. It's what's your lifestyle and where do you want to be? Because what I want now might not be what I want in 5 years from now or 10 years from now.
Fair.
I'm still alive. Who the hell knows?
And in your guys' opinion, best pool, rooftop pool.
Right here.
Right here. I think this.
No, not rooftop pool, he said. See, that's not rooftop.
Well,
but it's still the best pool.
Building pool in Miami.
Yeah.
Icon Brickell.
Icon Brickell. I mean, you're 300,000 gallons of water, 3 football fields of link, direct waterfront on the bay. It's quite a scene.
Right.
You know, it's kind of a who's who. It's a beautiful crowd.
Right.
And then if you go across the river to Epic, you have Area 31, which is a magical scene with
that one right there.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay.
I mean, you basically got 2 pools. You've got
the residents have their own private pool, and the hotel has its own private pool.
Have you seen the 11 residences pool? What that's going to look like?
That's going to be cool with the see-through glass.
Yes.
Almost like a sexy fish look down below.
Yeah,
it's going to be really
because
cool.
now that technology is better, they can build those type of pools there. But rooftop pools are still questionable because ultimately there always seems to be a leak or something that happens that has to get fixed. I mean, the Icon pool was closed down after it got built. Yeah. It's getting closed again. But the first time it got closed down because it was defective and leaking all over the place.
True.
And it was closed for years. But, you know, it's like rooftop pools, I love them. But I always wonder, do I want to live underneath it?
You know,
that's the question.
Yeah, and one last thing I'll say on that, and he and I have both sold in this very new project that's actually under construction. It's going to be done in about a year and a half.
The pool's going to be amazing.
At the Ocon Tower, because they're going to have the second tallest rooftop pool in the entire world, only behind Dubai, 70 floors up.
Wow, which building is this?
Ocon Tower.
That's getting built?
Downtown,
okay,
right by the Waldorf, right by the new Brightline high-speed rail, right by the Miami World Center. We both sold. We have clients that have bought in the building, and that was the #1 selling feature. Was second highest rooftop pool in the world, only behind Dubai, 70th
because
floor.
it's a hotel on the bottom. It's going to be at the top level Hilton hotel.
Yeah, Hilton's got a flag on it.
And then there's like 165 residences on the top, and then they have a private pool. That's not part of the hotel, but you have all the hotel amenities. And we're finding that more and more people like the effect of buying a residence in a hotel project. So you get all those hotel amenities.
You get all the amenities.
But you have your own private amenities as well.
Nice.
You can get room service. You can get anything you need, housekeeping.
Yeah.
But you're still not dealing with the hotel guest all the time.
Makes sense.
So we're finding those are becoming very, very
popular. Yeah.
You know? So it's all just a matter, again, it's always going to be lifestyle. Right. Like, what do you want? How long are you there for? When you wake up every day, where do you want to go? Yeah. What do you want to do? You know, and people that want an urban lifestyle, we're telling them, come to Miami. Right. And the deals are even getting better in the new construction in downtown than what's happening over here in Brickell, as Brickell is going through the roofs. Right. But one of the best projects is still going to be, we know it's going to be Miami, Mercedes-Benz places in Miami.
Okay, give that a quick plug.
Serhant.
Right, by Serhant.
Give that a quick plug.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Two towers.
A
whole city block, 130,000 square feet of amenities.
In the heart of Brickell.
Wow.
Right.
With the Mercedes flag all over it and with Serhant's
name
on it. So,
it's
really
an
cool.
amazing building by Shop Architects.
Yeah.
And, you know, it is going to be, but, you know, the Brickell prices are just more expensive now. I mean, yes, the Waldorf is, you know, through the roof, those pricing.
Sure.
But most of the other buildings are just regular towers. Yeah. They're not all branded towers. Right. And they're coming out at a much lower price point because guess what? In a branded building, the developer is paying a licensing fee, and you're paying a fee on top of that. You know, it's a pass-through that's going on to the owners. That's what it is. But you want to be in a branded building. Mm-hmm. People like that. They feel that it's more, that they're just getting more.
It's true.
But we're finding, you know, we're selling a lot of these other towers that are just as good.
Right.
But you know, people, it's a lifestyle again. Some people want bragging rights. They want to be in the Aston Martin. They want to be in the Baccarat. They want to be in one of the Fendi buildings.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're all over the place. Every life, Dolce & Gabbana is building. It's a condo hotel.
Casa
It's
Tua.
80 stories, but that's the local brand.
I know.
But you know, but look at Dolce & Gabbana, 80 stories. It's being built right here in Brickell. Furnished units, all Dolce & Gabbana look.
Nice.
You either like it or you hate it.
Yeah.
Right.
But you know, but people still know that it's, you know, it's a hotel at the end of the day, condo hotel, and people just like it because people that are going to come here, it's going to distinguish itself from just, and I hate to say it, another St. Regis, you know, but you know, they're a different caliber of luxury than a Dolce & Gabbana that's going to have wild, crazy room designs and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a destination place to go to when you're here. Right. And everyone who comes here is going to want to stay in it at least once.
True.
You know, and it's just amazing. So again, you know, that's it. Are we over our 30 minutes?
No, we're good.
Oh, we still have time.
I'll
God,
give
I feel
you
we've
guys.
been talking forever.
We're
He's
good.
cracking up
You know,
over
it's
there.
a special episode, but I love how Miami has done that and owned that and taken. Essentially, I don't want to. I could be wrong here, but I want to say the rights of just having everything designer named, brand named.
Yeah.
It's really cool what they've done with this theme. But last two questions. So we are going to wrap it up here. I would love to know Donald Trump's thoughts on Miami real estate.
Well, it's a wonderful city. Span the camera. They're not going to show it. It's a wonderful city, one of the best. And I know a lot of great cities, like I know great cities. And we love this guy. Look at that smile. Unbelievable. Next question. Wow.
Fake news. Last question is, what's next for you guys?
I think what's next is the biggest deal we've ever done.
Yes.
We are yet to do our biggest ever deal.
I heard Ryan say that too.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the mentality. I love the mentality.
And that's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah,
right?
I love that mentality.
You know, everybody you meet is a
never know
potential
what's
client.
next.
No,
we don't know.
I mean, every day is a new adventure. That's what makes a business so much fun. Every person you meet is a potential client, and it's a business that's all about not just growth but momentum.
Right.
And every single day you build and build, and you create more momentum.
Yeah.
You know, and I tell a lot of newer agents. I have newer agents that are coming on my team, and I'm like, listen, you know, you're gonna have days, weeks, months where nothing's going on. But the fact that you're putting your name and your face and yourself out there every single day, and you believe it, and you're pushing, and you're building momentum, your biggest ever accomplishment, your biggest ever deal, is right around the corner. And I think that's what we live for: is to grow and do bigger things. Bigger things are coming.
Right.
I know that.
It's always coming.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to be next. But we also know that, you know, we get asked a lot of questions by new people in the industry all the time. And we always tell people, you know, you have to, it's not every deal. Some deals are less expensive. Some deals are more. But it's at the end of the year. What's your number?
Sure.
Because, you know, we do deals that are low. You know, low for some people, for us.
For Miami.
But you know what? They're fast and they're quick. And you're like, okay, you know, we're not embarrassed to do deals that are lower.
No, and it's all about the client relationship.
Yeah,
and
because you don't know who that client's going to become.
You know, right. That client will do more business with you in the future. They'll refer people to you, you know.
Right.
I quick 20-second story, ready, set, go. I had a guy call me. I swear this is true, yesterday. And I've never done a deal with the guy. I've just seen him around Brickell. You know, he's probably going to see this. And he called me and he's like, listen, I'm over in Paris right now. You know, I'm over here working. Yeah, I met this guy. He wants to buy 4 or 5 condos in Miami. He's a cash buyer. This is his budget. I don't know who else to reach out to, but I know that you're doing a lot of business there. Can you help him? I'm like, yes. You know, and it's the fact that you're like, you're meeting people, you're treating everybody as a client or a potential client. You don't know who the next client is or where the next deal is coming from, and that's what makes a business exciting. And that's what gives you the thrill.
Look what happened to us at a dinner party, you know, recently at Sexy Fish. We met 2 couples, nicest couples. We had no idea that they were interested in Miami real estate. Once we started just talking to who they were, it's built. and we've been, there are now clients of ours
Yeah, we're
that
showing
we're showing
properties.
properties to, and we was just at a dinner party.
We just got
Yeah.
back from New
Yeah.
York. We had dinner with this couple, and it winds up with a conversation about price point and budget and,
Right.
what they want, and all that was just getting out and about to events, casually meeting people.
That's very
Just
important.
talking
Who the
to
next
people.
client
You,
is.
Gotta throw
because
yourself
you're
out
in
there.
the business, you never know who you're going to meet and who
Yes.
you're going to talk to, which is why we always treat people really well.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of my most expensive buyers have been dressed, in a t-shirt and shorts and flip-flops, and they could spend more than the woman who was walking by in her Louis,
Yeah.
but she because she had to be dressed that way.
Yeah.
You never
But
know.
you never know who that person's going to be.
Very-
and
very
so we
true.
treat everybody the same because you just, in this industry, you don't know what they dress like. I always tell all of my buyers, you can dress whatever you want. Your money's good. They don't care.
Yeah.
I'm dressed like this because I'm representing you.
Exactly.
On the buy or the sell, it doesn't matter. As long as their money's good, what
Exactly.
difference does it make? Because you know what? Some of the people that have like old family money, they're just dressed really casual.
Yeah.
And they don't care.
They don't have to. They're not new money trying to show it off.
Exactly.
And the new money also can afford it, and they can do whatever they want. But we're just like, you just never know.
Exactly.
Because we have found that the people, old school money is just, they're so comfortable in their life. They don't need to tell anybody who they are, and they don't dress like that because it's not important to them.
It's the best mentality to have.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys.
No, thank
You guys have been awesome.
It was our pleasure to join
Thank
you.
you. And Matt, thank you.
And thanks for
Thank
for
you.
everything.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks
for
for
having
everything
us.
today. Yeah, thanks for setting up the tours. You guys check out the field trip tours when they hit the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And you'll see it all over the socials too with these two gentlemen here. Went through an $18 million penthouse at the Brickell Flatiron,
Right.
and then a $20 million house on Venetian Islands.
Yes.
So great day. We've done a lot today.
It's been a lot of fun. It's been great meeting you.
thank
we
you.
hope to be able to do more tours with you. You
sure.
come back again.
Like,
we're
yeah.
always here.
More tours, more
More
business.
tours,
Yeah,
more
yeah,
business. Hey, and any of you Canadians out there who are looking for something, you can find us
So tell us where.
through this, Matt. Or you can find us through the Serhant website.
There you go.
Or you can find us through our social media.
You can Google our names. We're out there.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Our
post
name's
all
gonna
your.
be on a
Yeah, we'll
some-
post your links in the
Right here.
description. So you know where to look down,
And you
find
can find us.
Alan. We're all Alan Gabay, but
Right.
the real one will post his link, and
And
then
you can find me.
then you have Matt squared as
And
well.
there you go.
But
And
to so
Thank
you
you
want to say
for
something?
No, I just wanted to thank you again. It's been a great day, don't you?
It has.
I've enjoyed it. It's been a
Don't you
great.
think Matt won?
It's been a.
Yeah.
It's been a great time, great day. We've enjoyed it. Hope you can do it again soon.
We will. We will. I really
on.
appreciate that, guys. So to everyone out there, we thank you for always supporting. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you guys on the next one.